Something I've asked myself lately is, why do I like Kaiju number 8 so much? Yeah, the kaiju drew me in, but it's the humanity behind the story that makes me just as excited to watch what happens after the battles end as the battles themselves. Maybe the best stretch of anime episodes I watched last year was the second half of Kaiju number 8, and honestly, it feels like we're heading down that path again here in 2025. The last few episodes have been amazing, each one hitting for completely different reasons. From twists and turns to brutal fights, emotional gut punches, and moments that make you want to momentarily fight a kaiju yourself, it's checked every box. And let me be clear, the kaiju parts of Kaiju number 8 are awesome, and that's where I want to start, because that part is hitting a new level right now. Which brings us to the star of Season 2 so far, our big bad, Kaiju number 9. Kaijus are only given a number if they meet a certain barometer for strength, but honestly, it's really been more like a barometer for how awesome a character is. I'm infatuated with number 9. Wait, not like that. I could talk about him all day, not because he's overpowered or because he has powers like the Thing, but because he feels completely different from any other villain I've seen in anime. From the moment he debuted, he legitimately felt alien. He doesn't experience emotions or logic the way humans do, and they show this not only by how he speaks, but how he responds to certain situations and even by his mannerisms. I've seen monster villains, force of nature villains, paranormal villains, and predator villains, but Kaiju number 9 is the first that feels like he belongs to a species from another planet, which is why it's been so cool watching him study humans to learn how they think. He's adapting to human strategy and devising plans in the optimal way to succeed. We don't know anything about him, but that only adds to the presence he has. He truly feels unlike us, something we cannot comprehend or understand. I love how unique that is. We're about 2 seasons in, and we haven't made 1 inch of ground in determining what kaiju are, where they come from, or why they exist. But we do know that Kaiju number 9 created Kaiju number 10. Speaking of number 10, he's great for entirely different reasons. Unlike number 9, who is analytical, 10 feels more animalistic. He is being guided by the pursuit of strength, and it feels so different from everything else in the show. From invading the Defense Force base, to challenging Vice Captain Hoshina, to getting defeated but in the process forcing Kaiju number 8 to expose himself, 10 played a big part in some of the best episodes of last season. And in Season 2, he's back in a big way. Not only does he break the news that he's a creation of Kaiju number 9, he's only a prototype. He's the failed version. The dude who nearly destroyed an entire Defense Force division and the surrounding city, he's version 1. Not only is there at least a V2, there's probably a V10, and probably more than one. So what do we do with this knowledge? We turn him into a weapon for the good guys, specifically for Hoshina, and that's the best possible way to see the character continue, while also adding lingering doubt of what the consequences are of using an intelligent kaiju as a weapon. But the title of the series is Kaiju number 8. What about him? From the start, Kafka's journey after acquiring the power of a kaiju has been amazing. He's not your typical young up-and-coming anime protagonist. He's an adult who is desperate to fight kaiju alongside Mina, the woman he cares about more than anything. But his body is on the decline, and each passing day his dreams get less realistic. Then suddenly, a kaiju hops down his throat and he has all the strength he could ever ask for. There are a million ways that could go. What would you do if you had unrivaled kaiju power? Create a secret harem? Would you use it for good, abuse it, or do things your own way? Kafka chooses to join Mina at the top of the Defense Force, but no one can know about his power, because if they did, he'd be executed and experimented on, not necessarily in that order. That wears on him until he has no other choice. To save everyone, he must transform, exposing that secret, and he does so anyway, knowing the consequences that will follow. If there's one thing I love, it's seeing someone do what's right, even though it comes at a personal cost. Oh, and to avoid execution, he has to prove he's not a monster by fighting the head of the Defense Force, who happens to be his friend's father, who Kafka nearly kills. This is where the humanity of the show really shines. When I see a 32-year-old struggle to keep up but keep pushing forward, I can relate to that. I want to see that character succeed. When I hear a girl lost her mother to a kaiju and that's why she's joining the Defense Force, I love it, especially when she has to confront the fact that someone who saved her is a kaiju. Even better that her father Isao is the head of the whole force and the complicated relation dynamics that go into that. When I see someone owe the main character a debt for saving his life, how that changed them as a person and how that drives them going forward, I want to see that play out. They give you a reason to care about characters like Kafka Hibino, Hikaru Shinomiya, and Reno Ichikawa. It doesn't hurt that it shares a lot of similarities with the greatest anime ever, Attack on Titan, either, a show centered around a character in a world of monsters who joins the military to stop them, except they have the ability to turn into a monster themselves, and when others learn of that, the military chooses to use them as a weapon in a special unit led by a badass, and then they immediately struggle to use that ability. The beats are all there. So think about Attack on Titan. What drew you in for that? It was the emotional stuff, right? Eren losing his mother, Mikasa's brutal upbringing, stuff like that. And for the rest of the series, we're glued to the screen. They do it in different ways, but it's the same thing for Kaiju number 8. We see these characters live, laugh, struggle, and cry together. We grow attached to them. One of my favorite elements of the show is everything surrounding Shinomiya. When she first showed up, she was a cocky brat. But then we learned she lost her mother and of her strained relationship with her father. We saw her get beaten to a pulp by a kaiju and how that humbled her. We saw her have to come to terms with Kafka, someone she saw as a weakling, saving her, now knowing he has kaiju abilities and having to protect his secret. This season has gone even further. We've seen more of what her mom was actually like. We see her father praise her for the first time and immediately follow that with tragedy, the fight with Kaiju number 9. From opening a hole in the middle of the city, to setting loose an army of ant monsters, to having decoys keep Defense Force captains like Narumi or the duo of Kafka and Shinomiya occupied, it's crazy. And all of that is a diversion for his main goal, taking the power of Kaiju number 2 away from Isao, who wields it. We get this awesome last moment stand from him, showing how powerful he is, but also the regrets he has in life with being unable to protect his wife or connect with his daughter in the way that he promised he would. Despite his strength, it's not enough. That's a big loss, but the little details are what make it special. Someone like Narumi, who is as strong as they come, actually looking panicked when he hears Isao is in danger. Kikaru tearing up at simply hearing her father tell her excellent work. How she can't even attend his funeral because she's so heartbroken about losing him, and then vowing through teary eyes to become stronger. That she will take down number 9 and give her father a proper goodbye. How Kafka's body is slowly becoming more kaiju-like with every use, and he decides it's worth the risk. These three all have the same goal, revenge, but they all handle it differently, and if you know me at all, you know I love a good revenge story. The beginning of this season really sidelines Reno, Mina, and Hoshina, but the new cast immediately fills this void. Narumi in particular is doing in Season 2 what Hoshina did in Season 1, stealing every scene he's in. Then the OGs return, and the whole show feels bigger and more important. Kafka's dynamic with all these characters is a big part of why the show is so good. His relationship with Mina is centered around the promise he made her as kids. We get soft moments between them like her subtle smiles when he succeeds. For Reno and Shinomiya, he saved them both, but Reno sees him more like a mentor, while Kikaru sees him more like a partner, potentially in more ways than one. Hoshina sees him as a subordinate worth guiding, and Narumi views him as a weapon. All different, all valid, all entertaining. Especially with Reno, the Defense Force has a secret weapon. Kaiju number 6 has been turned into a weapon, and someone in the Defense Force will have to wield it. That someone? Our boy Reno. I know they had teased that he was gifted, but I did not see that coming. What an awesome way to return too, right? Sitting on the sidelines for half a season only to come back and immediately torture yourself to control an immense power to protect your friends. And what makes things like this so great is it ties into the show's core themes, trust and loyalty. The best part of Season 1 was after Kafka was arrested for being a kaiju, and you think, they're gonna go the route they always do. The people he saved will hate him for being a kaiju, and it's a legitimate concern. If tomorrow you told everyone you know you're an alien, despite you being exactly the same as you've always been, not everyone would accept you. You could only hope that the number is smaller than you're thinking. That's why this hits so hard in the show. No one views him as their enemy. Reno gives him a send-off. Mina says she will wait for him. Hoshina and the others, they salute him. It's beautiful, and those are the feels that turn good shows great. Isn't that what we all want? When things are bad, to have people there for you, to support you? I've mentioned Attack on Titan, but I want to make another comparison. Dr. Stone. They both have these ever-expanding cast of characters, and yet every single one is likable, making heart the core of each series. To me, it feels like this show isn't talked about enough. It has everything I personally want in anime: an interesting premise, great action, lots of intrigue, emotional depth, and most importantly, characters I care about and root for. It may not have Solo Leveling's aura, the eccentricity of Sakamoto Days, or the creativity of Dandadan, but I think it's a better series than all of them. So the real question isn't why do I like this so much, it's why aren't people talking about this more, and when will it get its due? Now subscribe or die.